going to be talking about Sage 100 Cloud Integrated Magento eCommerce, Manufacturing and Shipping. We're going to get started in just a minute here. A couple housekeeping notes before we get started. If you take a look at the webinar pane right next to your name, there's a question mark button. And if you click on that question mark button, a dialog box will open up where you can go ahead and key in your question. We're going to be reserving the announcing of those questions until the end of the webinar. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. So just to get started here, a few introductions. We're joined by Simon Quinn over at CertaPro. He's a sales manager. Nick Young over at CertaPro. He's an eLink product manager. We're also joined by Joe Genders. He's the president and shareholder of Rackus Plum, and he'll be presenting the Sage manufacturing side of things today. And Matt St. John over at Starship. And just a couple items about the companies presenting today. We have CertaPro with us. CertaPro is based in Los Angeles, and they're a leader in integrating Magento with Sage 100 ERP. It's powered by eLink, and it's a two-way connector that handles all data connection points for business partner portals and other B2B, B2C e-commerce needs. They're a Magento technology partner, and they have a team of Sage certified developers, consultants, technicians, CPAs, and software programmers that leverage over 20 years of expertise with the Sage 100 product line. And they're really, really great with the Magento. And they have been doing this for a very long time. They're also support Sage 100. So thank you so much, Simon, for being with us. We are also joined by Rackus Plum. They are the all-time JobOps software Sage 100 manufacturing all-time sales leader and support of Sage 100 cloud manufacturing. They've been selling and implementing Sage products for over 25 years, and they are the top Sage resellers in the Midwest region. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. And we're also joined by Matt St. John over at Starship. And Starship is a Sage Gold development partner. They specialize in integrating shipping solutions. They have been doing this since 1989, and they have many, many, many years of Sage software expertise, integrating shipping with the full spectrum of Sage products. And they have very strong relationships with other related applications that integrate with Sage, like inventory management with Scanco, ScanForce, EDI, TrueCommerce, SPS Commerce. And so they have a mature solution, and that solution can grow with you over time. And a little bit about the workflow here. We're going to be talking about how an order comes in through the Magento eCommerce shopping, and then that order goes into Sage 100 Cloud, all the details of the order. And Joe's going to be talking about how we automate the manufacturing processes, and then how all that detail goes back into Sage 100 Cloud for Starship to pick up the detail of the package, the dimensional weight, the location of the customer, and it automatically selects the best carrier based on all those rules of the shipment and cost. And so Matt's going to be reviewing that. So I'm going to pass it on over to Simon to kick it off with the Magento eLink. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thanks so much, Adrienne. So hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Simon Quinn from CertaPro Solutions. Also with me, I have Nick Young, who is our eLink product manager. And together, we're going to talk about and demo CertaPro's eLink software. So I'm going to provide an overview, and then Nick's going to get into the fun stuff, which will be a live demo of how eLink actually syncs. So as you will see, the functionality of eLink is basically to connect Sage and allow your company to create an online business portal or a B2B, B2C website for your customers. So this will work, while this will be done on Sage 100, this does work for 100, 300, 500, and X3 or enterprise management. So often successful online businesses, whether you're selling B2C directly to consumers or B2B directly to businesses or distributors, or both, they're going to reach a point where they're spending more time and money managing data in both their web portal and in Sage. So managing product information, prices, stock levels, customer information, and web orders across two platforms is going to be problematic. It increases the risk of errors and omissions in both systems, and more importantly, affects your profit margins. So on the other hand, integration does pay for itself. The return on the investment is realized over time. So with the Magento e-commerce platform integrated with Sage using CertaPro's eLink software, key information is now going to be synchronized between both systems. So this reduces the time spent managing dual entry, it maximizes profits, and more importantly, improves customer satisfaction. So CertaPro has created a product called eLink. It's a syncing technology that is a powerful tool which synchronizes data both ways. So your Sage product and customer information can now be updated to your business portal or web store 24/7. Online orders can now be created in Sage and are ready to be processed within minutes. And this is all completed without manually running batch jobs or any other procedures. It's automatic. So with our eLink software, the data securely flows between Sage and the web store using an encrypted connection. So this makes your company's backend completely anonymous and secure, all while being PCI compliant. So having payments, having an online store or a business portal means that you're open for business all the time. Our eLink product works with all the existing payment providers that are integrated with Sage, Paya, American Payment Solutions, Century Business. So CertaPro's eLink software now makes it approachable and affordable for your business to have an online presence. So let's take a step back and just talk about what is Magento and why Magento. So Magento is an e-commerce platform, and the world's biggest brands love Magento for its flexibility because today's consumers and businesses and their buying patterns are changing by the minute. And only Magento, which is also open source and scalable, can help you adapt and grow. And with a global ecosystem of 150,000 developers and a Sage business partner like CertaPro, using Magento can boost your online sales while maximizing gross margins. Magento businesses sell more at a lower total cost of operation. Lastly, the Magento marketplace is the world's largest and most versatile, offering customized and tested extensions. Magento powers more merchants on the internet than any other platform, which is why CertaPro is a Magento technology partner. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Nick Young. He's going to, as I said earlier, get into the fun stuff and show some transactional transactions between Magento and Sage. Nick, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Simon. And thanks everyone who joined us, as well as those might be watching later. As Simon said, my name is Nick Young. I'm the product manager for eLink. eLink is our two-way integration between Sage and Magento for B2B, B2C, any sort of e-commerce needs. As Simon also explained earlier, this product works with Sage 100, 300, 500, and X3EM. Today I'm going to be demoing on 100, so just keep that in mind. What eLink is it's a JSON API. So we created a custom API that we install on the Sage server that allows us to talk to the Sage business objects and or data stores. And then we've also created an entire suite of Magento extensions where we use our API to create a entire integrated two-way solution for the e-commerce site. What you're looking at on the screen is our Unera web store. So all we did here is we took an out-of-the-box install of Magento 2. We purchased a theme from a theme warehouse, we installed that, and then we installed our eLink modules. So everything you're going to see is basically out-of-the-box functionality for our eLink product. If we scroll down on the home page, you'll be able to see some products here. These products are coming from Sage. So we're importing product SKUs, product descriptions. If you're using images in Sage, we can bring over those images. We also bring over the inventory stock levels. So if you want to control in stock and out of stock on the website, so these items show that they're out of stock, that can be completely controlled by the Sage inventory levels. And then we also bring over all of the custom customer pricing. So if you've set up price levels, quantity breaks, or price tiers, if you have contract pricing for an item, when the customer logs into their account and they're looking at products online, they're seeing their exact price as it's set up in Sage. So you don't have to worry about maintaining prices in two places or importing and exporting prices. If you set up your pricing in Sage, that comes over to the web. When the customer logs in, they get their pricing. So it's great for B2B users. For this demo, we're going to go ahead and actually run through a whole transaction. So we'll create a sales order with a couple of these items from the homepage. We will show you how the sales order exports into Sage, and then we'll go ahead and invoice that in Sage, and we'll show you how the invoice comes back to the portal for the customer. So we added a couple items from here. We're going to go ahead and check out. When we get to the checkout, you will notice that at the top we have shipping addresses. We're bringing all of the customers' information into the portal for them. So you already had shipping addresses set up for this customer in Sage. You registered an account online for them. When they log in online, all those shipping addresses are available to them for checkout. So they don't have to go re-enter information that they've already given you. I'm going to go ahead and leave the default shipping address that we had selected for this customer, and I'm going to go to the billing section. In the billing section, you can see two options here. We have Bill Me and Credit Card. The Bill Me, to check out on terms, is based on the customer's payment terms in Sage. So you set up which terms you want to be credit card only, and if that customer logs in and they have a credit card only terms, the Bill Me option will disappear. This can also be controlled by the credit hold in Sage as well. For this order, I'm going to place it as a credit card so we can show you the credit card integration. On the web, we're doing a pre-authorization. No cards. I'm going to go ahead and add a new card. On the web, we're doing a pre-authorization. So what that means is we're going to bring in that pre-authorization on the order. Say you have to change quantities or pricing or add shipping charges or anything to the order. You'll be able to do that in Sage without it actually affecting the card, because on the web, we just authorize the amount, and then during your invoicing process, it'll actually do the charge. Sorry, I need to count the number of ones. Okay, so I'm just going to put in our test credit card information here and our verification code. I'll save this for later use. We'll use it during payments when I show you payments later. So we'll go ahead and place this order. And when we place this order, you'll notice that we're going to get a confirmation number. This confirmation number is actually a Magento order number. We're not entering this order directly into Sage. We're using what we call live syncing. And the reason we're doing this is you have to do maintenance on your Sage server. For some reason, Sage is not available. Your internet connection to your office is down. For any reason, if the website can't communicate with the Sage server, the website can stay up. Customers can still get all of their pricing, still go place orders online. They can still go make payments on their account. So everything works to them no matter what, with your Sage server not needing to be available. Once your Sage server comes back up, then we'll start trying to sync that information back and forth between the website and here. So you can see this order went into pending orders. This is in a queue waiting to be synced to Sage. This is going to happen in the background every 1 minute or so. So if I go ahead and refresh, this will probably already have moved. And you can see now we have no pending orders, and we actually have this new order in Sage from today for the amount that we had checked out with. If we view the order details for this order, this information has all come back from Sage. So when we're looking at this order in our portal online as a customer, we're seeing the actual order as it sits in the Sage system. So if in Sage you change the quantities because the customer calls in, they need to change quantities, or you change the price because something happened, or you add some sort of charges or another item, when they look at this order in their portal, they're going to see it exactly how you have it in Sage. So this is all going to update based on the things that happen in Sage. And you can see the customer information is down here. So for this order, we'll go ahead and go into Sage and show it to you. We're going to bring up order entry in Sage. And when we do a lookup, you'll notice that we've actually added that web order number to the lookup fields. So customer calls in and all they have is their confirmation email, which has this web order number. Your customer service will still be able to look that order up by the confirmation number. So we'll open that order we just created. You can see we did do the pre-authorization online, so Sage is letting us know. When we look at addresses, we see those addresses that we checked out with. Lines, we have those two items that we had added to the cart, and then under the payments tab, you can see the entire transaction information is here. We are using tokenization, so we're using a transaction and a credit card token. So we're not ever transferring any of the real credit card information back and forth. This is all PCI compliant. And this, during the invoicing process, that's when you'll actually charge the card. For this demo, I'm going to go ahead and manually enter this invoice. So I'll use invoice data entry. We'll select that sales order that we just created, and we're going to put in a couple of tracking numbers. If you're using Starship, who's also on the call today, Matt will show you in a little bit, their tracking numbers will go into this exact same table from shipping data entry, and so we're grabbing them from this table. This is going to be 100% compatible with Starship as well. I'm going to put these in so we can show you how they go back on the web though. We'll ship this complete and just accept through the screens, and then we'll let that sync back to the web. While that syncs, I'm going to show you a couple of other features that we have. So we have this quick order form for B2B users or repeat customers that are B2C, where they already know what they want to order and you don't want to force them to go through an entire shopping experience. This gives them more of like a PO entry for an order. So they can come in and they can type in a SKU if they know it, or they can search for SKUs by SKU or description quickly. So they can get a list of items and select the ones they want to add to their order. And then they can update the quantities that they want to order. So this is going to have an availability check. If you want to show this to the customer, you could actually show actual availability here too if you wanted to. For B2B customers, sometimes you want to show the real stock number, you can do that. And any custom pricing they might have set up will also be shown on this form. So all of that is available to them quickly on a quick order form. And then from here, they can just add to cart and check out. This is going to take all of these items, add them to the cart, go directly to the checkout screen. So this just bypasses the whole shopping experience and lets them really just order from you. If we go back to invoices now, we should see that invoice that we just created. And you can see it is not on the list yet. Let's go back to the sales order. Okay, so that is taking a little bit longer to sync, so I'll go ahead and show you our payments while that invoice is syncing. So you also have customers that need to make payments. We have multiple ways for you to make payments with eLink. In their customer portal, they can come in and make a payment online. They have all of their payment history. And one thing while I'm showing you this is I'll point out, we're bringing all of the transaction history from Sage over to Magento. So it doesn't matter if the transaction originated in Sage or originates on the web. When they go to their portal, they see that history anyway. So for sales orders, if you create a sales order directly in Sage, they go to their web portal, they can see that sales order, see any invoices on that order, and track the status of that order. So for payments, you can see this customer sent in some checks. Those checks show up in their payment history, shows what invoices they were paying and the amount they paid, as well as the online transactions would be here as well. They can select make a payment. And when they go to make a payment, they can choose from their saved credit cards that they use during checkout. So that credit card we just created during checkout, we can use that same credit card here. And we also support ACH if the provider supports it. So they can come in, they can do an e-check and actually pay by check for the invoice. The difference here with the credit card payment, we'll go ahead and add just a couple of invoices that we have that are open. And for this one, we will short pay. Say we want to leave $700 balance on it. The difference here between this and the checkout is on the checkout, we're doing the pre-authorization on the credit card. When they're making a payment, we actually do the charge at the time they make the payment. So I'm going to add these orders to my payment register, and I'm going to go ahead and place this payment. It's actually going to go and charge the card at this time. So just to be aware, this is not doing a pre-authorization. You don't have to worry about going and charging the card later. This is actually going to take the funds from the card at this time and make sure that they're there. The other difference between this and sales orders is pending payments will stay in pending payments until you go post that batch in Sage. So this payment is not yet applied to the customer's balance, so it shows up in pending payments until it's actually applied to their balance. Let's go back to invoices now. I'm assuming that will be here now. And it is. So you can see we have that invoice that we created. We have those two tracking numbers that we put in on the invoice. And if we go look at the invoice detail, we can see the actual shipped items that we had on that invoice. We have links back and forth between the sales orders and invoices screens. So from the invoice, we can click on the sales order and vice versa. And from the sales order, we have all of the invoice information at the bottom as well. So we'll look at the sales order quickly. And you can see at the bottom, we have the invoices that apply to the sales order along with the tracking numbers that go with those invoices. So no matter how the customer gets to the transaction on the web, they're going to be able to see all of the transaction history for that transaction. One last thing I just want to go over quickly is for payments, we also have something we call Click to Pay. Click to Pay allows us to generate a link for an invoice to be paid without the customer having to register online, have an account, or anything. From the invoice in Sage, we actually add a couple of buttons. If there's an email address on the invoice, then you can send the email for the invoice to be paid from right here. If there's no email address or the email address is not the one you want to send it to, you can also copy the link to the invoice, and then you can just go to an email and send it to the customer. If you're using Paperless Office, or if you're not using Paperless Office, you also have the option to have the Click to Pay invoices be sent automatically during your invoicing process. So here we have two. We support Paperless Office and not. I'll show you the one that's not Paperless Office. We actually have an invoice template that can be modified. And at the bottom of the template is a review and pay button. They can click this from their email. It'll take them directly to a payment screen where they can pay this invoice. Again, they do not have to register for an account. They don't have to put in any personal information other than the payment information. And this will automatically be applied to the correct account and correct invoice in the amount that they wanted to pay. So you can see this one actually has the open amount of $773. We do, on the Click to Pay, also support the ACH as well, so they can pay by check if you want to allow them to do that. So I just wanted to show that quickly. We also have some other features that I'm not going to go over today. So we have full integration with the RMA module, the returns module in Sage. We have some things like a salesperson module for having parent-child accounts, and then a customer-specific products module where you can set up products that only are visible to a specific customer. We have some other features too. This is just a high-level overview. So if you want to see anything else, contact me or Simon. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Simon to wrap up. So thank you, everybody.
Great. Thanks so much, Nick. So lastly, I'll take 1 minute to wrap up here. Let's talk about briefly what CertaPro's e-commerce solution can do for you. We know from our experience that no two websites or web portals are the same, and every site has a unique look and feel. So whatever the case may be, CertaPro can build it. CertaPro is not only a Gold Sage development partner, but we're also a Magento technology partner, and we have Magento developers in-house. So if you need an end-to-end e-commerce solution or a business partner, business partner portal, we can manage the entire process for you. If you just need the eLink software piece to connect Sage to your existing website, we can work with your Sage business partner or web development team to provide recommendations and solutions to get that accomplished. Again, while this was on Sage 100, it also works with 300, 500, X3, and Enterprise, or EM, Enterprise Management. So we work with many Sage business partners and their customers to meet all of their individual e-commerce needs. So I'm sure there might be some questions at the end, and we'll attempt to get to all of them at the end of this call. But if you we'd like to see a dedicated real-time demo of the transactional flow back and forth between Sage and Magento, what we can do for you is schedule a personal demo and show you what we've done for other companies. And this way you can judge for yourself. Thank you so much. And now we'll hand it back to Adrian or over to Joe.
Thank you, Simon. And Joe is going to be talking about the automating manufacturing within Sage 100 Cloud. Thank you, Joe.
All right, thanks a lot, Adrian. So, yeah, what we're going to go over today is I'm going to discuss some of the flexibility that you can get with Sage Manufacturing, formerly known as JobOps. It's very flexible to handle mixed modes of manufacturing and service. There's a lot of companies need to do mixed modes, and that's going to be kind of what I'm going to demo a little bit later. We can do make to stock. We have various flavors of make to order manufacturing that we can do. We can do engineer to order. We can make things from a template or from something that we've made previously in history. We have a product configurator where we can have a rules-based configurator to make something on the fly. We can also manage projects. Along with that, we can do service and installation, which could be a customer bringing something in-house, or we could go out in the field to either do service or installation for the customer's equipment. And a fringe benefit is we can also service our own equipment. So, and along with that, there's some unusual things you maybe do is you can also use it to do your own internal research and development projects or fixed asset capitalization in case maybe you're putting a new large piece of equipment in place. So in those scenarios, the cost wouldn't sit in your work in process. We could have them post directly to like a research and development expense account, but we'd use the work ticket in the system to track the project and have a full audit trail of all the transactions that would have happened. So a great example to show a lot of features of the system is an engineer to order kind of design build situation. Oops, where you would design something, build it, and then possibly install it. So here I did a little recap of the various steps that I have in the sample work ticket that I'm going to show you. And I have a little kind of key as to the colors of what things are doing. So early in the process here, we'll just be designing and quoting the system and getting approval from the customer. So those are kind of project management and pre-sales type activities that we can actually track. We're able to see the status of that and completion of those different tasks and then trigger future things that we might do. Many times when you're doing a big project, you have to do milestone billings. So the little red arrows are indicating where we're actually billing this. We have a down payment, we have another amount due upon design approval, and then prior to production and things like that. So we have a great way within the system to actually set up these progress payments ahead of time and then have them triggered to be released at the appropriate time when we should be billing them. So then in this sample, in my 200 series of steps is the shop floor routing to actually produce this item. We can do outside services. So my purple arrow is pointing where we have an outside service where we're purchasing something and that cost is then coming into this. We can handle change orders. And then towards the end, maybe we need to install this. So within the same project, we can manage the on-site installation, assign it to a technician, and get it installed. And then throughout the process, we can also capture customer approvals. We may need that before we can get to the next phase. So my purple arrow is showing initially they need to approve the quote before we move ahead. But then after we do the on-site installation, we'll need the installation acceptance. So that's kind of a high-level recap of what I'm going to show you. So now let's get into that. So here we go. All right. So there's that recap I just showed you. Here's the actual sales order in Sage. I'm going to click over to the Lines tab. So many times when you're doing a custom project, we'll start out with just a generic item. It'll have a very detailed description maybe of what it is. Below it is showing an example of how we can manage the progress billings within this project. So the first down payment, we can see that's highlighted in red. That means that this billing has been, it's been invoiced and sent to the customer. The next billing with the design approval is shown in green, and that shows that the project manager has released it for billing. We haven't invoiced it yet. And then the billings that are in black are future billings. So what's kind of nice about this is it shows them not only a description of the project, also what the payment stream is and makes it easy to bill. And we'll take a closer look at that in a second. So if I dive into this work ticket, and I can also drill down into my invoices from the work ticket, which is kind of nice. So there's the first invoice that has been sent out. Able to drill into that and preview it. I haven't made any modifications to this invoice, but we can get the gist of it, or we have a detailed explanation of what the project is on top. We can see the entire billing stream on how this is going to be billed. And here's the first billing has been released, and that's what's being extended on this invoice and what's due now. So whether it's a sales order or the invoice, it's real clear to the customer what's their due now and then what the future billing stream is going to be. So let's back into that. So some of the project management things and pre-production steps that we can do are the design and approval in the system. So if I click into the design phase, what we're able to do here is schedule the dates on when we would like this to be done. I also have it assigned to Tom, who's the engineer responsible for performing this. We're able to see all the time postings from Tom and what he's done so far to date. And the system is real time, so we're seeing up to the minute activity of what's actually going on. And then from a project management standpoint, we're also able to log statuses against any one of these tasks or operations that we're doing. And we can see when it was changed to being in process and that actually when it's completed. So if we do a recap of this project or look at dashboards in the system, we're able to see what the current status of everything is. So when we're interacting with a customer and we need them to approve things such as quote and design approval here, statuses can be helpful to track things. And maybe some of this you might normally think you might do in CRM. Well, here we can do it all within the project here. So we sent the quote out on this date, and we can see actually when it was approved and came back in. So we have the full audit trail of what happened there. So for the manufacturing of this, we can obviously have our bill of materials within the system. I'll click on my bill of materials. Here we have all the parts. A lot of times if it's an engineer to order situation, you may have to order a custom part too, and you may never need that custom part again. So we are able to use a star part in there, which is a wildcard item number. And if that's, we can then have that linked to a purchase order so that we can send that purchase order out to the vendor. And we can see here, this PO line is linked back to that project that we're working on. So when this is received back in, the cost for that wildcard one-off item will come right back into the project. And obviously it helps us manage those special purchases for this custom project because that purchase order is linked to the project. We can make sure we're getting everything on time when we need it. In an engineered order situation too, a lot of times we're designing something in a CAD system and it's something we never did before, and we don't have it set up in the system. So we might want to import the bill of materials from that CAD system. So we do have the capability to do that. The CAD system usually can generate a file, and we can simply point this to that file that is generated by the CAD system. Oops, wrong one. Parts import. Say okay. So boom, there I just pointed to that file that the CAD system generated, and I imported a whole bunch of extra parts. Now, if you have custom parts that aren't already set up in the system, those can be imported starting with an asterisk, and if they're special order, that'll work just fine too. In a situation where we might have some outside services, that works really well also. So there I'll go to my outside services step. That's as simple as having a slash code set up in the system for the outside service that you're purchasing. And once again, we have it linked to a purchase order so that we can then authorize that vendor to do that work. And then the purchase order is the conduit to push that cost back into the job. So for our field installation of this, we have our installation step. Within here, we can assign that to the person that's doing the installation. We can see the status. We also have a field service and dispatch module, so that if we want to be more elaborate and do a little higher level graphical scheduling of the technicians and things like that, that's also an option. But this is a simple way where we can we can just schedule that technician and track the status and cost through that. So as part of this project too, after it's designed, we can also have things attached to it, such as the CAD drawing. So this attachments can kind of be like a shop packet. It can be anything related to this project. I'm going to just select my CAD drawing and it'll pull that up, and I can take a look at the CAD image. So any file that you can access on the system, we can have that be an attachment and easily reference it and pull it up. So within the system too, we can nicely see the cost related to everything that we're doing. Maybe I'll go back here to my engineering step. Go to the profit analysis, I get my budget to actual analysis here, and also see my budget to actual hours. And then I also can roll it up by the work ticket or by the sales order and see how the whole project's doing. Now, in my scenario here, I had the design, the manufacturing, and the installation all be part of the same project, and that makes it really easy to roll up here, but I easily could have made that separate work tickets on the same order, and by doing the order summary roll-up, I could still see how the entire project is doing. So, all right. A great tool too to analyze how you're doing on the project or any work ticket you might be manufacturing is building Business Insights Explorer dashboards in the system, which are ad hoc dashboards that you can pretty much drag and drop and build the way you want. Here's one I call Job Tracker. It has all my steps within the project, and by scrolling across, I can see what we're supposed to be doing, who it's assigned to, the activity that we're doing, what our status is. Also what the date the status was changed at, so I know how current it was. In this case, the quantity complete really doesn't matter, but in other projects it might. I can see my budgeted to actual hours, so I can see how I'm progressing there and also where it's scheduled. So, and then maybe I want to take a look at how profitable we're doing on that, so I can take a look at those same steps, but instead of looking at status information, I can pull in the dollars and cents and see how I'm doing budget to actual and see how the overall project is doing. And then we had talked about doing the installation. Here's a real simple installation schedule where I pulled in my installation steps and I grouped it by the technician. We have a real simple task list here for the technicians on what they need to do. We can do the same thing for an engineer. So we have more elaborate ways we can do this with the field service software, but if you just need some simple scheduling, that can do a great job just like that. So I guess in the conclusion, I hope I was able to give you some ideas on how the software can be used. My company specializes in assisting end users and other resellers in implementing Sage manufacturing and job ops software for both manufacturing and service. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you're interested in working with us. Thanks very much for your time today.
And now we're going to have Matt over at Starship present the automated shipping solution. So we've talked about how orders come in through the Magento eCommerce platform and into the Sage 100 cloud solution. And all those details are manufactured automatically through Joe's manufacturing solution that he just presented, Sage 100 automated manufacturing, and then all the details of the shipment flow into Starship. So thank you so much, Joe and Simon and Nick, for your presentation. And Matt, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Adrian. So hopefully you can see my screen, but in the center of my screen, or on my screen, I should say, is the Starship shipping software. So we do have two different interfaces that work with Sage 100. We do have our original Starship link, and with Starship link, I could actually come in from Sage inside of shipping data entry, define my shipment in that screen, and then what we'll do is add a Starship button in shipping data entry where I could click that. It's then going to take that information, open up Starship, and of course pass all that shipping information into Starship. From there, of course, I can then rate shop, shipment process, get all my shipping documents, and then what's going to happen is going to take me back into Sage. So as you can kind of hear and get the feel for it, it's a lot of jumping back and forth. As a shipper, I have to be in 2 different systems. So we also have our business object interface or direct interface, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Kind of I highly recommend. I love this interface because as a shipper, I can just work directly inside of Starship. So I have no need to even have Sage installed on my workstation or my shipping machine. Again, I can just sit here and just stay inside of Starship, process my shipments kind of throughout the day. So with that being said, in the upper left-hand side is our source document. So with Starship, we can pull by sales order numbers, customer number, or even by invoice number. So if you're happy to creating the invoices first, we can most certainly pull them by invoice number. We also have an enhancement that if you still want to pull by an invoice number, or if there's an invoice created inside of Sage, we allow you to actually still scan that sales order number, because if I actually had this set to invoice or sales order and there was an entry or a shipping data entry inside of Sage for that sales order, I would get a prompt that says, hey, that's currently being shipped. So we do allow you to do by invoice, but also still scan that sales order number. So I'm just going to put in order number 222 here. And as you can see, this field I can manually type in. I can most certainly use this magnifying glass and pull up all my orders. From there can apply filters. Or if my pick sheet's barcoded, maybe I'm using a scanning solution, we can even just use a regular wedge type scanner, have that hooked up to my shipping machine, and scan a barcode. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in. So Starship's multi-carrier, multi-mode, so it doesn't matter if it's going to be a parcel or freight shipment. Starship's automatically going to go into the correct mode. Really, difference with a parcel and a freight is freight, we're going to have a pallet and a bill of lading tab. This should be a parcel shipment, and we're really mapping fields from Sage. So based off the ship via, and this comes up here, I'm going to show you that the ship via is going to tell Starship, hey, select the carrier, select the service, select the billing type, even the account information automatically for my shipper. Okay, if anyone's doing any third-party or collect shipments, we can help automate that process. A lot of times they talk with shippers and they, oh yeah, I have to go change this. They put a comment line, make sure you ship on customer's number 1234 on that account number. So we can automate that whole process, have Starship automatically pull in account numbers. Starship even has a database where you can store all your customers' third-party account info. The sender, of course, that's the company we're pulling the order from out of Sage. Starship does support multiple companies as well as warehouses and or locations. And then the recipient, that's the ship to from this order. Starship will validate the shipping address. We validate ZIP+4, and we also validate the commercial residential flag. So going to help save on those address correction fees as well as the commercial residential correction fee. Down in the packaging view here, I'm just going to expand on my items. This is where we can get into that item to box detail. And as I mentioned, if this was an LTL, we can get into item to box, box to pallet detail. But with this item to box detail, I want to first start out and say it is not required. So if you do pull in a large order, I have a client, hey man, we have 100 items on our order. We don't want our shipper to have to put each item in a box. You don't have to do that. You can have just every item come into a default box. Mine here is just this custom box. And over here, I can manually add single packages, or we also have a repeat box function that I can simply click that, say, Starship, give me 10 boxes, and it would automatically put the 10 boxes in here. Also with this interface, another advantage of this BOI interface is that Starship you can either manually set them up or have it automatically learn packaging scenarios. So in this case here, Starship knows, hey, every time the solenoid gets shipped, it goes in a large box. So it's automatically packaged it for me. Packaging scenarios are great. I will have to say it is currently still one item, one box. So if you're ever doing like case packs, great for case packs, because you could also say, only 6 of these fit in this large box. So if the order was for 12, Starship would also give you 2 separate boxes. If I wanted to manually package boxes, again, I could add a box from over here, and it's simply dragging, dropping my items, okay? You can hold down the shift key to select multiple items. You can also hold down the control key to actually split quantities. So again, maybe I need 2 of this item in one box, 2 in the additional box. Most certainly we can handle that. That large box Just click on that. It's going to bring me to my packaging tab. So Starship also has a database where you can set up and store your own custom packaging. And that could be bags, bales, pallets, what have you. Nice thing with when the custom packagings are set up, as you can see, it's automatically going to populate my dimension fields. And nowadays, dim weights are a big deal, especially with UPS and FedEx. So it's nice to have those automatically populate. Below that is the actual / build weight. So the actual field here that's highlighted, that would be the weight. In my system here, I'm pulling the weight from Sage. If you have a scale, most certainly can type this information in, or if the scale is actually integrated to your shipping machine, Starship would automatically pull the weight in. Now, as you can see, that's 5 pounds, and then the bill weight is 21 pounds. So that 21 pounds, that represents what, in this case, it's UPS. They're going to charge me for dimensional weight. Okay, so as you can see, Starship takes that into consideration, going to help save on those dim correction fees as well. The line item detail, and let's click this one item here. Again, I'm pulling my item number, my description, my value, my weight. That's coming from Sage. Other nice thing with Starship is it's going to have its own database for your inventory items. We do this because inside of Sage, they don't have a spot for the NMFC code or freight class. Your international shipments, as you can see over here, we can set up and store all the required international data. Harmonize or schedule B code. Maybe I don't have that. We have a lookup for that. Here I can go in, look up by code or by description. And of course, once I add this information, if it's missing, and click OK and actually ship this order, Starship's automatically going to save that information. So really, I have a combination of I'm pulling some information from Sage, I'm pulling some information from Starship's database. Also, units on shipment, we do allow you to back order. So if a shipper back orders an item, Starship would automatically back order the invoice. And then, of course, from there, the sales order would be back ordered as well. All right. Usually then the next stop is to rate shop. So I'm going to click the green dollar icon here. You can also just go right to the rate shop tab. But with Starship, we have integrations to about over 24 carriers, and that's LTL carrier, of course, UPS, FedEx. And what we're going to do is actually send them your live contract information, and they are going to return your live negotiated rates. Okay, and that's live. There's no staging tables. There's nothing like that. So if tomorrow UPS ups a fuel surcharge, when you rate shop tomorrow, you're going to be able to gain access to those new rates. And as you can see, we're also going to return estimated delivery date. I can change this, go by business days or by total days. And also, if I wanted to, I could see list or publish pricing. Okay. Now, we also included with Starship, give you the ability to do this rate shop right from sales order entry. So we're going to add this little rate quote button in here. And nice thing with using that, it does not require any additional seats or licenses. And again, it is included with Starship. Also, this rating can be automated. You could set up rating rules and then have Starship automatically rate your shipments. And based off your rule, have it automatically select the carrier in service. So, hey, you know what, Starship, rate this, and always select the least expensive carrier or maybe least amount of delivery days. So there are some more options to automating your shipment process. The charges tab, this is just a breakdown of the charges. I don't have to click on this to actually process a shipment, but here I just like to show it because inside Starship, you can also set up freight rules. So I don't know, maybe you say, hey, over $1,000, we offer free shipping, and we got a free promo code this month. With the freight rules, you could set those up to handle those scenarios. So here, I actually have one up. I'm using a user-defined field, just called freight discount. This lives in Sage and customer maintenance. It's a checkbox. So because it's selected, this customer is receiving a 10% discount on the shipment. All right. And for freight rules can be percentages, they could be min-maxes, it could be a flat rate. In these trigger fields, as you can see, it could be a user-defined field. It could go all the way down to line item detail. So, hey, maybe item 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a little larger item. We need to add extra packaging material. So anytime that item's on an order, add another $10. And those freight rules can be plus or minus off your contract rate or the published list rate. Usually then the next step is to actually ship and process. So I'm going to click the ship and process button, or of course you can press the F5, which is the shortcut key. But as a shipper, as soon as I do that, Starship will generate all my shipping documents. So again, if this was an LTL, we can generate bill of lading forms. A lot of our LTL integrations with the carriers, they can actually send their bill of lading form, pallet labels. In this case, where it is a international shipment, I'm going to generate my NAFTA form, my commercial invoice, of course, packing slips if you need Starship to generate those. My system will preview them, and why it's running so slow today, apologize for that, but most certainly these will just print right out. There we go. So box one, here's the label for box one, and this is also for the demo, I am using what we call our smart label. And as you can see, the smart label generate a shipping label and packaging list together. So this would need to go to a laser printer, but you can, of course, send that shipping label to a thermal printer. And if you want, with Starship, you have the choice, that packing list, that can go to a thermal printer as well, or you could send it to a laser printer. Okay, so you get box one, should pop up with box two here. And then get our international documents. And again, if this was LTL, this could be a bill of lading form. I'll make this easy here. But order header, line item detail, again, that's automatically going to populate on your document. And then if you wanted to, our documents can be customized. So this one here, I just have it already signed and dated. One less thing as a shipper I have to stop and manually fill out. And we should get a NAFTA form here. Same thing, all the information is going to be populated already for my shipper, and then I just modified it so it's signed, dated, the name, company, so on and so forth. Any of these documents that you customize, you can create unlimited templates, and then on each template, you can also get into signing printing rules. So, I have clients that do drop ships, so what they'll do is, hey, if it goes to customer ABC, if it's this product, I need the packing slip to have the different vendor's logo. So simply create a template for that and then put the rule on, hey, anytime this is going to customer ABC, just use this certain document. All right, so again, shipping process, receive my shipping labels and documents, and then now as a shipper, I'm just in that rinse repeat cycle where I can just move on, select my next, in this case, sales order, and just go through it again. Real quick, I'll show the right back into Sage. So put on different hat here, and I'll go back into SO invoice data entry. Go to my last invoice. So here's invoice 222. Now, if I wasn't using, say, like an integration with a CertaPro or anything like that, and just shipping out with this direct interface, Starship would also automatically generate the invoice. So one less thing my front office workers have to worry about is creating that invoice. Starship's going to take care of it. And then, of course, on that right back on the header tab, click the tracking button here, is our tracking information, carrier weight, freight amounts. Again, this is in Sage's tables. So as Nick mentioned, hey, CertaPro is going to be able to grab this for you and upload it back to the websites. But I can also use Sage's shortcuts. Here I can track, or if I had a customer call, hey, what was in each package, I can see item to box detail right from Sage. And then a lot of clients wonder about, hey, how can we notify our customers about shipments? With Starship, included is our e-notify program. And if you're currently shipping like UPS, I know they have Quantum View, but that's labeled UPS. With e-notify, you create your own custom templates, put your company logo on there, build your brand awareness. These are very easy to create, so you can easily link in PO numbers, sales order numbers, let the customer know where it's going. Again, item to box detail, and hyperlink tracking numbers. So these can help reduce those inbound calls of customers just looking for their shipments. And on these templates, just like the shipping documents, unlimited templates, but instead of printing rules, you can get into setting up emailing rules. So, hey, maybe I only want to offer a new promo code to certain customers. Very simple, create a template, add that emailing rule, and Starship will most certainly follow that and just send it to those certain customers. And then our dashboard program is our reporting tool. So e-notify dashboard can be installed on as many workstations. Again, just like that rate quote from sales order entry, does not require any additional seats or licenses. So a lot of our clients at front office has dashboard on their machine. They no longer have to call the warehouse. Hey, where's this shipment? Did it go out? What's going on with this order? Right here, if I track, I'd gain access to this shipment record detail, and I'll have access to, as you can see, all this status, the days in transit, all the way down to proof of delivery. If it was required, I could actually see the signature. Okay, so that's just some of the canned widgets we have in the dashboard. Also canned reports, late delivery report, that's going to go out. great report to run if you do any expedited shipping, because it's going to compare guaranteed delivery date to the actual delivery date, let you know of any shipment that wasn't delivered on time. And then the charge comparison report is, this one will compare the applied versus contract. So what you charge the customer for the shipment, and then compare it to your actual contract charge. And I'll quickly just jump back in this invoice, speaking of comparison. Here also on the write back, if we need to, we're going to write back the freight amount. And I said need to, most clients they do, but if there are some scenarios where, hey, maybe on our website we already charged the freight, we can do freight write back rules and tell Starship, hey, do not write freight back if it's a web order, or basically if there's a value in here. And another nice feature of the business object interface is that we can get into taking additional shipping information and passing it into user-defined fields that are set up inside Sage. So you can work with your reseller, hey, I want a couple user-defined fields here. I have freight costs and fuel surcharge. So I was working with a client. They wanted to know every shipment, what they were going to be charged by the carrier. So simply write back that contract rate. And then I had another one for their LTLs. They wanted me to be able to pull out the fuel surcharge. So as you can see, the nice thing is we can take additional information, make the change, and in this case, oh, this customer received a discount. No, they owe us money. We should be charging them $200 for freight. So just a last way we can check and make sure we're not going to lose money on those freight charges. And really, that's what I want to show you, a quick overview of Starship and the integration with Sage 100. I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day for today's webinar.
Thank you so much, Matt. Great presentation, everybody. You should be seeing the contact information on my screen. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I am going to launch a poll real quick. So you should be seeing a poll. We would love to get your answers here. If you can take a second just to give us a response. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions, there's a question mark right next to your name on the webinar pane. You go ahead and click on that question mark button. A dialog box will open up where you can go ahead and key in your questions. And I will read off those questions as we get them. And then, Joe, I had a question for you. You do a lot of work with the partner channel, correct? And it takes a lot of expertise in manufacturing to know your way around Sage 100 manufacturing and what modules will apply to where. Could you just talk a little bit about your partner program?
Sure. We've been partnering with other resellers for probably well over 20 years, and a good byproduct of that is it's given our team a lot of manufacturing expertise, and we've worked with companies all over the country and just about every type of industry. So a lot of resellers will use us as their outsourced manufacturing consultants, and we'll help with the qualification and sales process, and we do a good job at that just based on all the experience that we bring to the table during that process. And then we'll work together with them to implement the project and make everything go smooth.
Perfect. And then I just asked the audience, if you are a reseller and you are interested in engaging Joe, his expertise in the manufacturing arena, just go ahead and click on more information for job ops here, and he will reach out to you. And let me look and see our questions here. We do have quite a few, and I know we have only a minute or so left. Thank you so much for spending it with us. Question for V Technology Starship. There is a Starship Magento add-on. Is this add-on required when integrating with CertaPro? And then we have another part of the question. Go ahead.
Okay. First part, no. That's the nice thing with CertaPro is they're going to do the integration between Magento and Sage, and I recommend that because even with our integration, we could pull the orders right from Magento, but someone still has to manually create those orders. So it's always nice to have an add-on that automatically grabs that information, live as you saw, the inventory and what's in stock, and automatically going to be creating those sales orders inside of Sage.
And thank you, Louis, for that question. And then we have a question from Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Does the web link use national account shipping addresses, and can you override with a different ship to address? Simon.
I can take assignment.
Go
So we bring over the customer account information into the web when they register their account. They can create, or you can give them access to create or edit their addresses on the web as they want. Those addresses don't come back into Sage. So whatever addresses they create on the web are just for their web account that they can use for their orders in future checkouts and things like that. So they can control their addresses and everything on the web without actually affecting your Sage data.
And Simon, Kevin would like a quote for the Magento eLink, so I'm sure you'll get back to him right away. And then Chris, thank you so much for your question. Can Magento work with PayPal? Simon?
Me again?
Or Nick?
Yeah, so you can use any of the payment processing, any of the payment modules that are in Magento or any third-party ones you want. There'll be no integration with Sage and PayPal because PayPal doesn't have any sort of Sage built-in integration. But what we do with those kinds of things is you'll check out with PayPal on the web, and then we'll bring in a deposit amount and some sort of like transaction ID as the reference code into the Sage order. But all of the reconciliation will be manual with PayPal, but it will work without any problem.
And we have another question from Kevin. Thank you so much. Joe, this one's for you. Does the JobOps configurator work with web integration?
Well, currently, I believe Scanco is discussing with Website Pipeline to do a web-based configurator. They've been toying around with that for a while. It's not available right now, but hopefully in the near future it will be. And I will certainly pass this request along.
And just for clarification purposes, Joe, Scanco owns JobOps and is enhancing JobOps, correct?
Right, and which is also the Sage manufacturing, yes.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Rains. Thank you so much, Rains. Will a recording of this session be available? Would like to share with another member of our team? Yes, I am recording this. Thank you for that. And we will be sending out the recording in an email right after this webinar at some point this afternoon. So if you've registered for this webinar, you will automatically receive that recording. And I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll. And I just want to thank everybody again. We know that your time is precious, and we really appreciate you spending it with us. And thank you so much, Simon, Nick, Joe, and Matt, for your excellent presentation and showing this workflow. And thank you again, everybody. We're going to go ahead and close out. And everybody just have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.